Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It is me, girl Brit Reacts, and today we're going to react to a channel called The Base Conservative. And this video is called Professor Has Had Enough of Woke Double Standards. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't being a little cousin and copying off of my big cousin. I saw Mr. L. Boyd reacting to some stuff from this page, and I was super interested. So here I am, being a copycat. Thanks. Y'all, I'm never afraid to admit it, okay? And also, us content creators, we gotta just start, being for real. Be for real, all right? We all see each other. Just saying.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all is good wherever you are. In this video, we're going to look at another small part of a very long live stream lecture from Dr. Sam Richards at Penn State University, where he discussed the woke double standard and racism. Let's get into it.
All right, so this guy got fired for dropping the N-bomb. So let me walk you through.
I'm sorry, we're gonna start right here with this pop-up. Yo, dog, this is only a small clip from class. Check the link for the full class video. I get who this professor is through and through just off of that. I kind of was just taken aback by the fact that this is a Penn State professor. I have connections to Penn State through my husband's career as a basketball coach. We have a lot of cross connection in the basketball world there, so that's so interesting to me. I need to ask some friends about this professor. All right, back to that.
For dropping the N-bomb. So let me walk you through. So if you want to fire this guy for walking the N-bomb, this guy here, he said it in the context of talking about somebody else in history. Okay, then this is where we're going to go, right here. So this guy, Marlon Anderson, security guard at a school district in Madison, Wisconsin, at a high school in Madison, Wisconsin. Some kid in the school is being disruptive. The principal calls for help, calls the school guardians, being like, they're trying to take this guy out of the school. Calls Marlon over, like, Marlon, help out, we got to take this guy out. The kid's fighting, he's yelling stuff, he's yelling obscenities, and he starts calling this guy the N-bomb. And then Marlon puts up with it. He's like, dude, stop that.
Wow.
As he's wrestling him out of the building. Stop that, dude, stop calling me that. Stop calling me that word. And he's getting him out of the building. Stop calling me that. Come on, man, really, stop. And the two of them, and then finally, Marlon says, stop calling me N-bomb.
That's why he lost his job?
Well, what Marlon forgot was the high school has a zero tolerance policy for saying N-bomb. So the kid was going to get expelled.
Okay, that was my question.
He gets fired. And the principal comes forward with a statement to people, to all the family members. Here she is, right here. So she says, she sends a letter informing them that a staff member would not be returning to the school. And she writes, as you know, our expectation when it comes to racial slurs has been made very, very clear. Regardless of context or circumstances, racial slurs are not acceptable.
I'm sorry. There is always room for context and circumstances. Almost always. Almost always. But most specifically, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, in an environment where someone is done something so completely out of character, provoked, and was trying to do good. This man was called to this situation. He was berated by this student, who I can assume was not of melanated persuasion, dropping this N-bomb. And let's be clear, we probably should all just, no matter what color we are, wipe it from our vernacular if it's going to continue to just be the point of contention that it has always been. And I am someone who, I want to be very clear, I understand the side of, how come black people can use it? And I also understand the side of black people feel like they took a word that was weaponized towards them and they made it a word that had value in the way of it's almost a term of endearment, but there are tons of people who still use it in a negative way. So I get both sides. I just want to be clear that I am a person that, like, I don't fight on this topic, because for me, first of all, I'll never win, but also I am someone who just understands perspective, circumstance, context. And again, that is my opinion. You do not have to agree with me. But in this situation, you called this man to come help. You allowed this child to berate him, and he said it in return to ask him to stop. And then you fire him. You send home a letter with no context or without any other information surrounding it, or even maybe allowing the community to decide, or the staff to decide. It's frustrating. I love that in unison, the entire study hall laughed at the fact that the picture popped up and the lady's name was Karen. You know it, I know it, it was funny.
Regardless of context or circumstances, racial slurs are not acceptable in our schools. So, my friends, you want to fire Papa John? You think he should be fired? Well, then he should be fired. Because he broke his zero tolerance policy.
I get what he's doing there.
Why wouldn't he be fired?
I get this debate.
Oh, well, he can't because it's a little different. What's the difference?
I don't know what Papa John's, what they're referencing about Papa John here in this video, but I do know that Papa John as a franchise, if he's talking about the pizza, also let me say that if he's talking about the pizza franchise, their ownership or head of ownership has, I think, notably and publicly always been conservative leaning. So I can imagine something was said. That's my squeaky chair. Remember, it's not me, it's my squeaky chair. And so, yeah, I get this debate. It's like this, it is a double standard. And that's why I said, like, me personally, in my own personal life, I struggle and understand that there is a double standard there. I struggle and understand to understand both sides. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but I'm just being honest with you guys as a human being and telling you, like, I understand. And I tend to be that way in most situations, being able to see all sides, both sides. And I'm fine living there. A lot of you don't like that I live in a very understandable kind of devil's advocate kind of world, but I'm fine living there, and you should be fine with how I'm fine living. It's not bothering you, it's not messing up your payment of your bills, and it's certainly not changing the way you live your life, and vice versa. So but I totally get this professor's point.
Oh, well, he can't because it's a little different. What's the difference? It's just as absurd. Really, what's the difference? What's the difference? I'm going to push you on it. I can point the differences. I'm smart enough. I can see that these are different situations and so on, and I'm going to push back and be like, what's the difference? Hang on, this is just rhetorical.
Like talking to each other right in front of the professor? Ballsy.
And then she is the one that writes the letter saying, sorry, Marlon had to go because he broke our zero tolerance policy. He ultimately got his job back because so many people, including students at the school, were upset and bothered and so on.
Good.
Same people that didn't come to the defense of John Schneider from Papa John. They didn't come, I'm sure they didn't come to his defense, but they came to his defense. So this is where we go.
So did John Snyder say the N-word? I'm assuming if the comparison is that, then perhaps John Snyder. Again, I'm just assuming, so let me know if you know down below. These are the type of teachers we need in our classrooms. These are the type of professors we need in our colleges. Just having real conversations that make way for critical thinking, cultural thinking, everyday thinking, not the professors who are just there to do a job. They present things, they present real life scenarios and force these kids to really think not just about academics, but character, morality. Like, these are the type of teachers that deserve to be making $1 million a month. Like, this is phenomenal teaching. This is phenomenal preparation for the world. These conversations. And in a classroom, Penn State seems to be a pretty high-ranking elite school. The auditorium seems to be very diverse, and so these are the tough conversations that we should be having with our children, and not leaving the teachers to teach our kids this stuff. But thank God there are teachers in the world who are brave enough to have these conversations, and I'm sure this man's job has probably been on the line before because of this type of work. but he's doing kingdom work. I'm telling you.
This is the world we're going to go in. If we want to have these kinds of, we're going to have language police and action police and thought police and so on. You want to walk up that aisle? Well, we're going to walk up the other aisles also. This is where we're at. And then what's really the problem here? We're not paying attention to racism, as though like Papa John is the problem, as though this guy here is the problem. No, racism and violence against everybody, but disproportionately against people who are black and brown seems to me to be the problem. And against women, I should add. But we get ourselves all rolled up in a ball in all these other ways.
Okay, first off, how funny is it that the principal's name was literally Karen? I think with anything in life, context matters.
Right.
To just have a zero policy rule and be able to fire somebody, like end their career, take away their income, like say this person has kids, and it doesn't matter if they have kids or not, but how they feed themselves, how they feed their family based on something like that with not taking context into matter is ridiculous. I also think it's ridiculous. Like the N-word it's not a word I would ever say. It's not a word I would ever want to say, but it is ridiculous because I read about a teacher that was reading a story in a university, and he was reading out of the book, a history book, and he happened to just read verbatim, and he said the word, and they fired him
that was allowed,
out of a history
I guess, to
book.
be
Now, it's a
read by the
despicable
school.
word to call somebody that, and it could be very offensive to some people. I would get that, but you shouldn't be firing a teacher for reading a book.
I'm so glad that this gentleman, the based conservative and I are on the same page, and I think that goes across the board for anything and everything. I also agree that if a school, right, is going to approve a piece of literature or history or anything, and then fire a teacher for reading it out loud, shame on the school. You should have put that clause in there that like, we'll allow this book, but please don't repeat this word. But also, the N-word is a part of American history. It's a part of American history. And this might shake a few black ruffled feathers, but if it is a part of American history, then the teachers who are teaching that should be able to teach it in an honest and true way. It is a nasty word. It's a negative word. In the context of our history. Again, I am somebody who understands culturally in the black dysphoria. I always like, am I saying that right? Dystopia, sorry, dysphoria. Like all of the black vernacular, the word has been reclaimed and repurposed. And that is another video on another day. I understand both. I want to be clear in saying that. But I understand that in the historical context, again, context matters. If a teacher is teaching something, as hard as it is to think about and to understand that a teacher may say that is what was said back then. And that is the history. And so if a teacher is teaching it, perhaps send out a letter to the school and say, we're talking about a difficult, or to the parents or to whoever, or have a conversation with your staff. Like, just have conversation. I think a lot of times these teachers get in trouble, and it's like, but if you would have given them the guidelines or the parameters or the boundaries, perhaps they wouldn't have crossed that line. But maybe this teacher thought, I'm teaching history. This is a part of history. I can say other negative and Lord, I'm losing a train of thought, offensive words in relation to history. Why not? You know what I mean? I get it. But if we're giving teachers, like, we've got to be clear and we've got to be fair, and it has to be the same across the board. And I do think that in context of the N-word, there is a lot of circumstance, situation, and unfair rules around who can use it, when they can use it, how they can say it. That's what I'm saying. Perhaps let's just rid of the word. Rid of it. It that shall not be named.
Offensive to some people, I would get that. But you shouldn't be firing a teacher for reading a book and saying it. Or in this case, this teacher that he's talking about, that just in context,
he wasn't a teacher, right?
Said, hey, stop calling me the N-word.
He wasn't even
But this
in a
word in
classroom.
the English language that we have, that only certain people can say, and we judge if you can say this word based on how dark your skin is. Whether you can say this word or not is based on the pigment of your skin. This is a ridiculous thing. Now, it's a despicable word. Again, I want to reiterate that. I'm not looking to ever say this word, but context matters, and the fact that you could fire somebody and get rid of their livelihoods, because we know with the woke left, the Marxist ideologues that we have these days, if you're labeled a racist, you lose your career. That is the worst thing you could be labeled in life. Your career is done. You might not be hired from anywhere else after that if you're labeled that, whether you are or not. And I've just said the word is despicable, but even if you said like the N word is despicable, you cannot say the actual word and say it's despicable. It's crazy to me. And again, it's not a word I'm looking to say, so I don't care so much about it. I just find it very odd that we've gotten to this point that people are losing jobs and livelihoods for saying a word, any word, towards anybody, regardless of race or gender. Let's get back to the video.
So here, I got another one for you. How many know who she is? You see this? This just came out in the news.
I agree with everything.
So woman says Denver arena guard told her to remove her hijab. So she was going to the arena in Denver to see one of her children was singing in a choir, I think. So she shows up at the arena. And the hijab, from what I could see in the photos, her covering was more or less very similar to this. So she shows up, and the security guard says, as she's walk up toward me, you're going to get in. Stop. You can't come in with that. You got to take that off. And then she says, what do you mean I got to take it off? So, no, you got to take it off. So she says, I wear this for religious reasons. I don't want to take it off. She says, I don't care why you wear that thing. You're taking it off if you want to come in. It's like, okay. So she says to the guard, do you think there's a place, and she's with her child. She says, do you think there's a room where we could go? Like kind of a secure room that's where I could take it off and, because she's kind of modest about taking her hijab off. And the guard says, no, there's nothing like that. You have to go. And sort of waves her away. So this woman is like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So pretty quickly, this all happens really fast. A guy comes out from in this other area. He walks over, assesses the situation really fast, and apparently pulls the security guard aside, and then waves her through. Very fast. It's like 30, maybe 40 seconds. And then the security guard comes back out, so they talk to her briefly, and she comes back out and doesn't say anything, doesn't really interact with her, but this woman gets in. She goes through the metal detector. The metal detector goes off because her cell phone was in her pocket, and she had to come back and get the cell phone out and so on, and it was fine. And she gets in. So the whole thing takes an additional maybe 45 seconds or so, not very long. Okay, cool?
Cool.
Got it?
Got it.
So the idea is the security guard is clearly out of line.
Okay.
And it's a problem because you don't know what hijab is and you don't understand anything about this head covering and Muslim women and so on. And so, come on, man, are you kidding me? What do you mean? She's coming to you saying it's for religious reasons. What do you know? Like, why aren't you aware?
If you ask me, this goes back to job training, proper job training. Perhaps this man needed better training to understand people that don't look like him. What I will say is, if she was wearing a hijab in the manner which she was in the photo, which looked more like what we call in the black community like a kufi, I've never, I can't say never, but I'm not familiar with that being called a hijab. So, I'm used to them being the more draped scarf around the entire face and neck, and so I get that there maybe could have been cause for confusion, but it's the manner in which you handled it, right? Okay, let's see where this goes.
Why don't you know? Why don't you understand what's going on? So then this is a problem. So the Council on Islamic Affairs and Islamic American Relations, they get involved and they put out press release and, I forget what they said, but, something like this is just really terrible. This is an indication of what happens to Muslim people and so on. And she didn't make like a major deal over it, but she'd put out a Facebook post and say, hey, this happened to me. And that's how it blew up. And it blew up such that when I went online, when I looked at it, it's everywhere. These are just images, but each one is the same story over and over and over again. Here's the problem with this. Here's what makes it complicated. What do you think about what you're thinking about the security guard? She's a 71-year-old African-American.
All right, well, that skipped right over. All right, I'm going to stop here. I think we've gotten enough conversation. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you, but I do require kindness in the way that you are going to respond if you have a passionate response. And if you can't be kind, then keep it cute and put it on mute. That's all I ask. All right, talk to me down below. I will link this entire video in the description if you want to finish watching it. I think Professor Sam Richards is doing really good work over at Penn State. All right, go and have the day you deserve, friends. Toodaloo.